GAO, GAO has recommended that SBA conduct unannounced site visits on hub zone applicants, such as the one at 300 Alamo Plaza, right? What percentage of companies do you currently visit unannounced and in person? And how do you decide which firms to visit?
This year, we're going to visit 1,000 firms.
You are.
We have visited so far 711, and by fiscal year end, 1,000. My understanding is that the majority of those are unannounced. I don't know.
Can you corroborate that information
Yeah.
for the committee?
And we'll find out how we decide.
Mr. Kutz, can you explain to the committee and the SBA why unannounced visits are different from announced visits and what the value added is from such unannounced visits?
Yeah, the element of surprise is always important. Now, our unannounced visits have revealed things like mail stuffed under the door and the neighbor saying no one's been there for 6 months. You would not get that with an announced visit. We had one where we did an unannounced visit and came to the place. I showed this at one of your hearings, where the next time we showed up, they had actually nailed in a new shiny mailbox. I don't know if you recall that.
Yes.
Where the next time we came, they made it appear as if they were there. So that's one of the issues with SBA waiting 6 or 9 months to go after the companies that we identified. By then, they may have doctored it up and made it look like it is a qualified firm. So, yeah, it's very, very important.
SBA has previously indicated that they do not have the resources to perform site visits for all the applications that they receive. In your opinion, what kind of resources will SBA need to perform these site visits?
I think that, they've moved towards 20. That's what the report I read yesterday said, from single digits when we first started this. So that's a large step. You can do a lot with 20 people. My unit only has 55 people, and we do investigations across the government. So I think with leveraging technology, the internet searches, other vehicles they've got, whether that means they can do 10% or 50% site visits, I don't know that. But again, the threat that there is a site visit of these firms either entering the program or that are in the program is an important element of a control system.
The 10% that SBA is doing right now, do you think that is adequate?
It depends. If it's done on a risk basis and is done appropriately, it's better than what we had before. I would say, again, I believe they're doing it mostly, my understanding is for people that already have gotten contracts. It's just as important to do it for people that haven't gotten them yet, because as we've seen here, once someone fraudulently gets a contract, very little has been done in the past. So I think it should be done on both, and ideally, more than 10% would be better.
Mr. Kutz, in your last report, you mentioned that the 3 parts of a good fraud prevention program are prevention, monitoring, investigation with consequences. How does this concept apply to the Hobson program with respect to prevention, monitoring, investigations, and prosecution?
We've talked about several of the prevention methods with respect to the unannounced site visits. One of the other things I would mention is they're asking for lots of documents now. The one thing we didn't see is validation of those documents. In other words, we send in utility bills, which is one of the things they get for support, for example, as to whether or not someone's in a hub zone. Well, you can doctor those up in about a minute or two, but maybe randomly calling the utility company to say, yeah, does this company really actually live there or work there? The site visits. So the front end is the site visits, the internet research, and other document reviews. The monitoring is what I think they call the recertifications, and it's important. I think they're looking towards moving from every 3 years to every year to do those. That would certainly be more effective. And the investigations serve as not only a consequence for people, but actually it's a prevention also. When people know there's a chance of getting caught, there's a better chance they're not going to try. So I think we've touched on many of the things. The key thing we hadn't talked about until your question here was the validation of documents. They should do some independent validation of documents in some instances.
And have you made those recommendations to the
I don't know if we've done the validation of documents. I have to go back and look at our recommendations, but the other ones I think are part of all of our recommendations.
Okay.